So Leah Hadley is joining me live here to talk about her new book. I'm so excited. I want to see, let's see, Leah. I don't know why it's not letting me add you. We're like on we're on like, oh, there we go. You're coming. Yay. Hello.
Hi, Julie. We did it.
We did it. So I always joke with all my fellow Substackers here that we are learning as we go.
That's right.
We're learning as we go on Substack. And actually, you are my first guest
Well, I'm
on a
honored.
live
Thank you.
Substack. So excited to have you here. And for everyone that's joining us live or catching the replay, we're so excited to have Leah here because one, she's just an incredible human. We are in the same mastermind together with the now famous Kelly Roach. Everyone knows Kelly Roach in my world. I'm sure same with yours. And we met through her. We're in the same mastermind together. And you have this incredible business where you are helping people build wealth. You have a wealth management company. But you have this book that is launched today. And so what I'd love to do, if you could just share with everyone, a little backdrop, who you are, tell us about your company, and then let's dive into the book, Intentional Money.
hmm
And the thing I love so much, Leah, is that your heart is really helping women,
hmm
especially. You help men too, right? You help men too.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
I love your mission with helping women. And listen, I think about the fact that I was born in 1974 and like that was the year women could finally get like credit without a guy signing like to co-sign. I mean, come on, right? Like so we are still in the infancy of like even having generational insight around money. And so I just love your mission and love what you're doing. So tell everyone a little bit more about you and your company, and then let's dive into the book.
Absolutely. Julie, thank you so much for having me on, first of all. I just really appreciate and I'm incredibly overwhelmed with all the support today. It's really just been amazing. And this mission is something that is so close to my heart. And so, in all honesty, it feels very vulnerable to put the book out there. I have a lot of my own personal stories in the book as well. And in all honesty, I've gone through some trying financial times, and that's what I share in the book. I was very fortunate. I was raised by a woman who was financially savvy, thank God. My mom was a single mom. And she was an accountant. And believe it or not, she actually had her MBA. And I had no
Love it.
appreciation, right? I had no concept of how unique it was for me to be raised by a mom who had an accounting and an MBA, like no clue until I was much older. And actually, until I got really involved with NABO, I had no idea that even in the 80s, women could not sign off on their own business loans, right? They had to have a cosigner on their business, like crazy to me, even just in my lifetime, how far we've come, right? And so I am very, very grateful. The book is dedicated to my mom. And one of the things that she really taught me, very financially savvy, understood numbers, but also understood that, you know, life is so much more than numbers, right? And it's really about being true to yourself and following your heart and finding your purpose in this world. And my purpose in this world is to help more women feel financially confident. And I share my story because even with a mom who was an accountant and had an MBA, um, even with that experience, I still went to college, didn't study finance or accounting. My undergraduate degree is in sociology. My master's degree is in education. I became a teacher and I had never taken a finance or accounting class. So I'm very
Okay, I
fortunate in
love
that
this.
she sat me
I
down and
love
taught me
this
how to do
story. So wait a
budgeting and
minute.
cash flow. Yeah.
You have a wealth management business. You are so successful at what you do. You just wrote a book about money, but that wasn't your background. That wasn't what you got trained in. Didn't even take any of those classes, in college. So fascinating. I'm sure you talk about this in the book, but I would love to know, like, what was that on ramp to then go down this pathway? I love these stories.
Yeah, so I was burnt out in the classroom. I was in a very challenging school and I was drowning in student loan debt. I had some student loans from my undergrad. I completely financed my graduate degree. And so I was like, now what am I gonna do? Like, honestly, no clue. And I took a temp job, and that temp job happened to be at an investment bank. And I tell people that experience a lot because I entered that company as an administrative assistant. It was just, for a few weeks. And when I walked into the investment bank, here I am feeling like an educated individual. I had been teaching at the community college. I, had a master's degree. And Julie, I didn't know what people were saying. Like, honestly, there was this whole language around wealth creation that was completely foreign to me. And it was not something that I had ever experienced before in my life. And that was such an eye opening experience for me, right? And I was very blessed. I had wonderful, wonderful mentors at that firm that were basically like, you're not going to make any money doing what you're doing now. Like, why don't you learn what we do? And I actually had the opportunity to become an equity research analyst. I studied how do you value stocks. I read everything I could get my fingers on. A
Wow.
lot. Yeah, I was really self-taught quite a bit, but I did have wonderful, wonderful mentors.
Well, and but what hit me when you just said that, you were temping there, and I love how God, universe, source works, like the divine, like, it's like pulling you out of where you were not, things were not, you said you were drowning in debt, drowning in like the hard work of the work that you were doing. And you got this opportunity, which I love. And like, it's, we get these opportunities and do we capitalize on them? Right.
Yeah,
And I just love that you said that when you were listening and you were like, wait, this is like a foreign language. Don't, guess what? That's how so many of us feel. And I know that's
right.
why you do what you do, but like we, so many of us feel that way. I mean, I'm 51 and I want to say that like the first 40 years of my life, I really kind of kept my head in the sand about a lot of the stuff. If I'm really being brutally honest, I loved making money and I loved, whether I was at IBM or with my own business, but I just, I almost just delegated it in a sense to like, whoever was managing our, but like you're trying to change that. But continue.
Yeah.
Talk about how you became this equity researcher and then got your hands on everything you could learn, and then what happened from there?
So I was ready to have a family at that point, and my ex-husband and I were adopting through the foster care system. And to become approved through that home study process is pretty extensive, and I traveled a lot for work at that time. As an analyst, you have to get in front of the portfolio managers, you have to get in front of the companies that you cover. It's just and this is before Zoom, right? So a little different world that we were living in, but regardless. So I decided that I would take the skills that I had learned in equity research and really start helping families. And so that's where I became a financial advisor for a large broker dealer. And that was great. It was a good experience for me to have the opportunity to learn there. It wasn't a good fit in terms of the way that I want to help people. I really like to get to the core of what really matters to people and do things in a very customized way. And big firms are all about scale, right? And they're all about efficiency. And so that wasn't exactly the best fit. So I tried another one. And didn't work out there either. And then ultimately decided, you know what, if I want to help people the way that I want to help people, and I really truly feel like this is the work that I'm called to do, I'm going to hang my shingle. I'm going to figure it out. We're going to figure out, how does this work? So I run two businesses. Intentional Wealth Partners is the wealth management practice. Intentional Divorce Solutions is actually the business that I started first because I feel like, and I didn't share this yet, but I ended up going through my own divorce. I had already been in equity research. I was already a financial advisor. So I was probably, I don't know, 10, 12 years into my career in financial services. And Julie, I was completely overwhelmed financially when I went through my divorce. Like, here I am with all this expertise, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like there's so much weight to every financial decision that you're making through that process.
And in an
And
emotional time. Like,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. And so I really started the divorce practice because I feel like people genuinely need real financial guidance through that process. Now we quickly found that people would come, to us for divorce and then want ongoing relationships. And that's been the best thing that could have happened because honestly, really supporting people in the next phase of their life is so personally rewarding. I mean, it's just amazing to witness the transformations that people experience.
And you must create such a relationship with people when they're going through, a pretty significant change, emotional time, someone that they can trust and work with. And then of course, they're going to stay with you, right? Because you develop that relationship and I love that. I mean, you're definitely a relationship first person and it's as we know, that's so so important in the time that we're in business. And I just that's so 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 powerful. And so you then talk about the book and kind of the a little bit of the journey of like writing this book, what the book is about, who it's for, and definitely I want to also get to like how people can get a copy of the book and all of that. But just share a little bit more about writing this book, Intentional Money.
Absolutely. So the subtitle is The Modern Woman's Guide to Building Wealth, Purpose, and Peace. And I think it's really important that we think about all of those things, right? Wealth looks different for everybody. Everybody has their own definition of wealth. And I think that's really important. And it's really a central theme throughout the book. And we help people get to their definition of wealth by really looking at what are the 6 pillars of the intentional money method. And so the intentional money method really walks you through getting very clear, not just on your numbers. Everybody thinks that it always starts with numbers, but getting clear about what you want, what's important to you, what do you value? We want to know what your financial situation is, yes, but that is a piece of getting clear on your situation. We talk about values and really how values can be a wonderful filter for decision making, and it makes decisions so much easier, right? We talk about mindset because I think this is really an area where traditional financial services has just completely missed the mark, right? We talked about our own experiences and what happened in our lifetime in terms of changes, systematic changes for financial management for women. But we're also raised, lots of us were raised, you don't talk about money. Money's not something that you talk about.
Yeah.
Well, how are you going to feel comfortable talking to a professional about money if you were raised your whole life not to talk about money? Now you have you're faced with a divorce or you lose your spouse or like some serious thing has come up in your life. And it's like, well, now this is a really hard time to learn about money, right? So taking the time when you have the space to recognize what is my mindset about money? What have my experiences been? How are these things impacting me? Are they getting me closer to my goals or are they keeping me away from them? That's a really key pillar that we go into significantly in the book. And then there's strategy, action, and support. Now, strategy, that's, your general financial guidance, but we really dive into why do people know strategy and not have the success that they could have implementing that strategy, right? And there's a lot to that. And we talk a lot about how there's a lot of messaging out there in the world about there's weakness in asking for help. Well, you ask anybody with significant wealth, you better believe they have wealth advisors. Why shouldn't the rest of us, right?
Yes, 100%. Yes,
Yeah.
I
So
love
it's
that.
absolutely safe. It's okay to ask for help and to recognize that if the response is negative, that's not a reflection of you. That's a reflection of the person that you asked, right? And really encouraging and giving people permission to ask for support and make sure that they get their questions answered. That's really, really central theme to the book.
And so this model, I'm assuming this is what you then actually do with the clients that come into your wealth management firm.
Exactly. So we are looking
It
at all
seems
of these
like a
pieces.
differentiator. Seems like a
Yeah,
real differentiator.
it was interesting. So we recently hired another senior financial planner, maybe 6 months ago or so, and we were talking about our process, and she's trying to get our process down. And she goes, "This is a little backwards." It was like, I don't think so. I think the rest of the industry is backward
Yes.
and we do things the right way. So we always start our first appointment when we're doing financial planning with people is always about you. So if I'm doing a financial plan for you, Julie, that whole first appointment is what matters to you. What are your goals? What are your priorities? What weighs on you? What are you worried about? Right? Because all of these things are going to impact the advice that I give you. If I don't know what matters to you, I'm just giving you generic advice. It might not get you to where you want to go, right? so it,
100%.
so it's really, in my opinion, backwards that the industry always is starting with the numbers. I want to start with the person and make sure we really are planning for
Well,
the
they seem like
person.
they start with the numbers and also that very guru-esque, like, they know what's working in the what like, it's almost like they're coming with a recommendation because they wanna be able to prove that they can have your money make money, right? And so
Mhm.
they're coming at it with that angle, which is so interesting because we are so moving into a different era, right? Where we don't want the gurus. We want the people that we can have a relationship with that we can trust.
Right.
And who cares? And
That's
so I
it.
love that you're like, no wonder why your business is also growing so much because you're shaking the industry up and going in a direction that actually people are craving now more than ever and leading with that relationship and the person first. I love this. Okay, keep going. This is so good.
So the book is really based on, all of these years of experience of sitting with women, and I share lots of my own stories and I share lots of client stories as well, of dealing with all of these messages that are holding us back, right? So whether it's, my this was not me, but lots of people will tell me, my ex-husband told me I'm bad with money. I'm bad with money. And now all of a sudden I'm supposed to be responsible for money. For the last 25 years, I've been hearing this message that no, I'm going to take care of it because you're bad with money. How am I going to trust myself? Right. And so many women, and we sit down with women in some cases, many millions of dollars. The weight of that uh, responsibility is just completely overwhelming. They're sitting here going, I've only been told I've been bad with money, all I have is money to lose. Like, you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
having those experiences, sharing those experiences, acknowledging, you mentioned, some of the gurus out there, there's this perpetual message around shame and money and, kind of punishing yourself for financial mistakes that you've made in the past. The book is really focused on let's get present. Let's see, where are we right now? I don't care what happened in the past. I don't care what your neighbor said. I don't care what your kid just asked for. Let's get really pleasant and get really clear on what matters to you, what's important to you, and let's really clear through the noise. That's really the focus. And honestly, in my experience, it's all those other external voices, that noise, that's really what's keeping people stuck.
Well, I wanna keep asking you. Do you have a couple more minutes? I'd love to ask you a couple more questions. But while people are on, can you let people know where, like, kind of where to get the book and, all the things so that, again, we can support you, but also you can support us? I'm so excited. I gotta get my copy. I'm, like, literally making sure I write myself a little note to make sure that I get my copy of the book because I'm very excited to read it myself. Where can they get the book?
Absolutely. So the book is on Amazon. Again, it's called Intentional Money: The Modern Woman's Guide to Building Wealth, Purpose, and Peace. And the ebook is free for the next 5 days. So go grab
Oh,
that ebook
ladies and
in the next
gentlemen.
5 days. Yep.
Free. The ebook's free. I'm a go get the hardcover book too to support Leah, but it's free. That's amazing. That's so generous of you. Obviously, that's who you are. You wanna get this you I can tell. I mean, I've spent time with you now and, obviously, we're in a mastermind that truly is heart-centered entrepreneurs. You know, I can tell that your goal here is to not gate this information, to get this in front of people and to build that trust, And honestly, I think what's so beautiful and let's talk about this a little bit. I have noticed when it comes to things like wealth management, when it comes to working with like tax strategists and things like that, that there's this thinking that it needs to be local.
Hmm.
And it doesn't. And it's funny, like, for the first time in forever, I went some completely different direction in terms of not a local accounting firm, but we're to a firm that I feel like is going to be best suited for tax strategies for a fast-growing entrepreneurial company like mine. And they're not anywhere near me locally, right? They're states and states away. So can you talk a little bit again, because I really think there's even education here around how do you find, the wealth management, firm that you wanna work with, and normally and so typically, it's who knows who locally. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Yeah, we absolutely serve people nationwide. Most of our clients choose to work virtual. I always joke we have a client who lives like around the corner from the office and meets with me over Zoom. So,
That would be me. Okay, not gonna lie.
so yeah, I think when it comes to this, when it comes to really life planning, right? It's important that you have somebody that you can have open conversation with. We have hard conversations with our clients. We are often the first call when somebody loses their job. We are often the first call when somebody loses a loved one or has a major health crisis. But I am so honored to be that person for people. And I really, truly value the relationships that we have with our clients. And that's really meaningful to me. And there are other financial planners out there like myself. I encourage people to look for two things when you're looking for a financial planner. First and foremost, you absolutely want a fiduciary. Don't go with anybody who's not a fiduciary. Fiduciary means they have a legal responsibility to do what is in your best interest. So it's really, really important that you find somebody who is a fiduciary. But then we also operate as a fee only financial planning firm. So what does that mean? I think fee transparency is critical. I think it's really important that people
Mhm.
understand what they're paying and what they're paying for. And so there's no commissions, there's no behind the scenes fees or anything like that. And there is a wave, there is a movement of financial planners like myself who are committed to this service model, to committed to really making sure that people are
'Cause
getting good.
that's not the norm, right?
That is not the norm. That is correct.
It's the norm that it's more, that as they're moving money and as they're doing things and as they're managing, the money that there's all these, like, it's almost like death by a thousand fees, right? Like, it's like, right? Like, that seems to be the norm, and
Yes.
there's, like, this running joke that if you go down to, like, a yacht club, it's the wealth managers that own the yachts, not the people that they're, managing the money for.
I could see that. I could see
But
that.
because of that old model, but you're not doing it that way. So can just
Correct.
because again, I think many of us are learning a lot of this. I mean,
Yeah.
I went and I it's over here somewhere. I got Tony Robbins' big, big, big book about money, and
Okay.
I couldn't quite read it, but I listened to a lot of it, and
Mhm.
I had no idea. I had no idea how much the average person who is not living and breathing this every day
Yeah.
is being bamboozled in lots of ways in this industry, and I love that you are doing wealth management in a way that, 1, you've shifted the model, that it's client first and what they desire first, and you're doing it from a very transparent, fee system or approach. You can talk a little bit more about it again so that we're just all there because, we're catching up, we're
Yep.
catching up to your conversation. It's like, the more that we understand about this, the more that we can become confident in the questions that we're asking of a potential wealth manager. Like, are they a fiduciary?
Yes.
What is the fee system? Talk me through it. And so, can you talk a little bit about your model so that we can get, educated?
Yes. And I will just get on my soapbox for 1 second and say,
Please. I love soapboxes. Everyone here knows that.
if a financial advisor tells you there is no fee, get up and walk away. Nobody's out there doing business for free. And, all of you business owners know it's hard to run a business. So if that is the case, there are a lot of products that are structured that feel like there is no fee. Everybody involved in that product is getting compensated in some way. Okay. So let's just be clear about that. There are fees. You wanna know, if you're going into a particular investment, how the advisor who's recommending that investment is compensated for that recommendation. You also wanna know, are there incentives for them to sell proprietary products as an example, right? So, folks like me are completely independent. We use multiple custodians, which means that we manage money on multiple places. We are agnostic as far as who we invest with and just are selecting what we feel like is in our client's best interest. But we're also not selling individual investments. So we offer financial planning, which means that you can sit down and work with one of our planners to have a full written plan. We also have ongoing planning, which is common for business owners who need that ongoing strategy support, asset allocation kind of work. But then we offer portfolio management. So lots of our clients come in and they don't need portfolio management. Maybe they have, $500,000 in their 401k. They don't need help managing that, but they need a plan to make sure they're on track to retire on
Yes.
time, right?
Oh, I like
So
that.
we
So
offer.
you could be actually managing the money and doing financial planning, or perhaps someone already has, that the management taken care of in a 401k, which is very common, right?
Yep.
But
Mhm.
you can then help and actually be your firm can be that financial planning, like, guide, because
Exactly.
again, like, you know, there's so many things that come up in our lives, whether it's college or retirement or starting a business. How many
Yeah.
times you probably get people come to you like,
Mhm.
"I'm looking to, like, leave my career and start a business," "Can I do it? Can I do it in my current situation? How can I do it?" And so, to me, it's having that guide, that partner who is savvy in understanding all of this is just absolutely critical.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is, Julie. I think you described it really nicely. I was with a client earlier this morning, and she's got some big changes happening in her life, and that was it. She just needed a sounding board to walk through and say, she's working on getting remarried. Like, what are we thinking in terms of prenuptial agreement? Like, who do you have those conversations with, right? You want to have them with somebody who can give you some really good, solid advice.
I love it so much. Now, does your book talk about, like choosing a wealth management firm in any capacity, or if someone no, if someone's interested in potentially like working with you, like how and your firm, like how does that work? How would they do that?
They'd want to go to intentionalwealthpartners.co, intentionalwealthpartners.co. And there's a button you can schedule a consultation with any of our advisors there. And that's a great starting point.
Yeah.
We also, though, if you're not ready to have a one on one conversation, and a lot of people, it just takes time. And I understand that. And that is really a focus of the book. It's just acknowledging, like, let's just honor where you're at in this moment in time. Maybe you're not ready to have those conversations yet. Take a look at the Empowered Sisterhood. The Empowered Sisterhood is our membership program, and we have weekly coffee chats that are super informal. They're such a safe space to just be in community, ask questions, get really good advice. We have an entire vault of resources online that I'm always adding to based on questions that our members have. So there's all kinds of ways to get support. If you are looking for a financial planning firm and you are wanting somebody local, I recommend the Fee Only Network. The Fee Only Network is a site that is just advisors that are fee only fiduciary financial planners.
Oh, that's such good advice.
Mhm.
And again, like I said, I learned a little bit about all that when I was listening to Tony Robbins' book. I keep trying to tell my husband, I'm like, 401ks are terrible, right? But he's like, stop it. Like, it's just so funny. Like, I mean, I drank the Kool-Aid a little bit on it, but what became really clear to me, and it's so refreshing to hear that you are doing things differently, is that there's just so much we don't know. And see, that's kind of what the industry is capitalized on, that we don't know, that we
Exactly.
won't understand how this works. So we put a lot of trust in the system. And I
Mhm.
do think, and my audience knows I've rewritten the whole language of human design, and I'm deep into, really studying this new era that we're going into from an energy standpoint. And we are moving away from systems and gurus and people that know better than us. And we're moving into, no, we trust our inner authority. We work with partners and we work with people who are living embodiment of the work that they teach, and that's you. You're
Thank
a
you.
living embodiment of the work that you teach. And this is where we're going. And these are the people we want in our corner. And these are the people that we want to work with. So I am so excited for your book. I'm excited for you. I am so glad that we have become friends and, and mastermind partners. And I'm going to go and grab a physical copy of your book. So generous of you to also offer the ebook for free for 5 days, though, everyone. So make sure you grab that and support it. If you guys get it and you read it and it makes a difference, please share it. You can share this conversation. I would even say, if you're listening to this, share this conversation after it's done, because on Substack, because I think that we don't talk about this enough. I know you know that. I love that you also offer the sisterhood that you've created, so that, again, because your heart is here to bring this knowledge and this information to as many people as you can, wherever they're at. As
Exactly.
we close out, I just love, is there, if you had to offer up one piece of advice for the woman that maybe she's just feeling like overwhelmed by even this conversation, or where to start, or feeling like, am I too late, like 50 not finished, right? Like, that's my book. We're all, a lot of the women that I'm working with, they're or in our audience, are near or over 50. You always hear, like, it's almost like it's too late, all those things, which is not. We know that's not true. Is there any advice you'd give to that midlife woman who it knows that she wants to do more in this area of wealth, creation and development, and really thinking about the future?
Yeah, I think one of the hardest things that I teach is that action comes before confidence. And so sometimes you just need somebody to hold your hand and take that action. And that's the one thing that might be holding you back. And so if that's the one thing that's holding you back, whether it's Julie's hand or my hand or, your best friend, whatever it is, take the step, because once you take the step, the next step's going to feel a little bit easier and then a little bit easier. And it just gets easier from there.
I love that, and it matters who you're taking that step with. I agree, it
Like,
just feels better. You feel yeah. We'll borrow your confidence,
exactly.
until we get there. Leah, thank you so much. Thank you for writing this book. Thank you for the work that you're doing in this world. We are also co-sponsors. We're both sponsors of Called to Lead in the end of, it's really the first
October 1st.
October 1st. And so anyone that's listening and watching, you also join us, join Leah
For
and I.
sure.
We will be in person at Call to Lead. We are both sponsors of that event. It is for women who feel called to lead. And we're going to be having such incredible content, such incredible networking, all the things. Both Leah and I will be there as well. So definitely make sure you check that out. Raven's coming. Woohoo. So excited.
Excellent.
And we would love to see people in person and all the things. So thank you so much for being here and sharing all of this, your amazing work that you're doing in the world. And we'll talk real soon, Leah. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
so
joining us
much,
live
Julie.
today.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone.